As many of you know, I've been working my way through Dogen's Mana Shobogenzo. This is his collection of koans. And I want to be transparent. I skip some. Some of them I read it and I think, I don't know what to say. And then some of them I get to the next one and it hits me and I think, oh, this one excites me. This one feels like it's alive for me. And this has always been my experience with koans. And I understand that if we were working on this in a systematic way, probably the most important ones for me would be the ones that I skip. But maybe for all of you, it's the ones that I feel some pull toward. So today, I want to offer up case 22 from this collection of koans, and it's called Puhua's Bell Song. Puhua of Zhen Region would often go into town ringing a bell and chanting. Now, before I chant what he chanted, we need to picture who this person is. This person is playing the character of the holy fool. And we have a few of these in the Zen tradition. People who wander from town to town and they have one thing that they do that's too simple. It feels a little bit silly almost. But wherever they go, carrying this too simple practice, they kind of put everybody to shame, right? Whether it's the scholars or the high-ranking monks or the local rulers who feel threatened. There's one, I forget his name, but he just goes around bowing to everybody. He bows to the Buddha, and then he bows to the Buddha, and people think he looks like an idiot. But in the stories, people end up bowing to him. There's such depth in what he's doing, even though on the surface it's kind of comical. In my understanding, Puhua plays the same role. So Puhua goes into town and this is what he does. He goes into town and he rings a bell. He's ringing the bell and he's chanting and he says, when brightness comes, hit the brightness. When darkness comes, hit the darkness. When 4 sides and 8 directions come, give them a swirling hit. When emptiness comes, shuck it. And he just does it over and over and over again. So the story goes that once Linji sent a monastic to grab Puhua and say, what will you do when no brightness and no darkness come? Instead of brightness and darkness. This is a trap. And Puhua, grabbed by this monastic, he pushed the monastic back and he said, in a few days, there will be a meal offering at the Dabei Temple. That's it. So the monastic goes back and reports this to Linji, and Linji says, I've always wondered about that guy. That's the whole story. First the story part, but then the meat, which is this thing that he chants. The story is simple. Here's this guy. He's saying this thing, when brightness comes, when darkness comes. And in classic Zen fashion, somebody thinks, ah, but did he think about no brightness? Did he think about no darkness? Get him. So the monastic grabs him and says, what will you do? And Puhua says, there's an event at the temple on Tuesday. Right? I'm going to do what I do. Right? I have an invitation, so I'm going to go. That's how I deal with this. And Linji, as we might expect, hears this and he thinks, he's pretty good. Right. That's the fun part of the story. Right. Because it's a variation on a theme. We find the teacher, whether the teacher is presenting in a very established, authoritative way, or whether they're coming kind of sneaking in like Puhua. We test him and we lose, and something opens up. But what I really want to talk about today is this thing that he's chanting, because it's so great. When brightness comes, hit the brightness. When darkness comes, hit the darkness. When 4 sides and 8 directions come, give them a swirling hit. When emptiness comes, shuck it. And this, by the way, the name of this koan is Puhua's bell song. So when we say hit, we're talking about a bell. That's the image. And all of this, especially in the context of this collection of koans, because this is Dogen gathering the koans that he likes and putting them together. This is a koan about practice verification, as Dogen taught. And it's a wonderful way for us to look at what practice verification is. It is so central to what we do. It's so central to what's been handed to us, and it's so hard to grasp. The bell is used over and over as an illustration of how practice verification works. And as we dive into that, I want to say the thing that I think doesn't get said enough, which is that if I'm here and there's a bell there, the bell is fine. I don't need to strike the bell for the bell to be any more a bell than it is, for it to be any more complete than it is. Reality isn't lacking my whatever involvement in it. Whatever I encounter, it's whole. Practice verification isn't about the presence or absence of something in something else. Practice verification is about how I'm engaging with the world. And the bell is a great image because I can sit and look at the bell. I can appreciate the bell. I can be in the presence of the bell. But until I strike the bell, I'm not really engaging the bell. And what Dogen said was, it matters to engage the bell. It matters to engage whatever it is that we're doing. It matters that this practice is not just a practice in our minds, but that we move with it. That it's a practice of touching the world. And so when you hit the bell, first it's a kind of inquiry. Right? There's something over there. What happens if I engage it? Right? And once I engage it, I know what it is. And so I can understand it as an offering. Hitting the bell is inquiry. Hitting the bell is offering. Hitting the bell is vow. It's closing the gap between me and everything. So Puha says, when brightness comes, hit the brightness. When darkness comes, hit the darkness. Whatever reality you encounter, meet it, right? Go to it, strike it, say hello. Don't just sit there, right? Ironically. Get up and move. And then he says, when 4 sides and 8 directions come, give them a swirling hit, right? The 4 sides and the 8 directions. Every time you get numbers like this, it always means everything, right? The 8 directions are it's north, south, east, west, right, northeast, but that means everything. It means everything in between, right? Four sides, front, back, left, right. It's everything. When everything comes, meet everything. And he gives this description. You swirl, right? You have your little thing that you're going to hit the bell with. You spin with it so that you can hit front and you can hit back and you can hit north and you can hit south. Bam, 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 bam. Everywhere you go, everything you meet, you step in and you touch it. You actively engage. You find out what that is. And then he says, when emptiness comes, shuck it. Shuck, like shucking corn, right? When brightness comes, engage. When darkness comes, engage. When the 10,000 directions come at you, engage. When emptiness comes, tear that thing apart. This idea that arrives as delusion, right? As, oh, I know what this is. That's different. It's still engagement, right? But he's throwing in a warning too. Something like emptiness, something where we fall into all the mental traps. And when that arrives to you, when you think that you can see it, you need to pull that apart. And so we have this image of encountering emptiness and then shucking it until what? Until it's actually empty. Right? Don't settle for your idea of it. Don't settle for the teaching about it. If it's something like emptiness, dig into it until it's real. Right? Verify. Practice and verify. So you shuck that emptiness until there's nothing left to shuck. And then, whoop, brightness. Come back. Hit that. That's the practice as Puhua is offering it. That's the practice as Dogen offers it. And what I love about this, and what I think is so beautiful about this little funny chant, is that for me anyway, it provides one of the rare, joyous visions of what that practice verification is. We so often speak about it in these forms, right? Whether it's the form of how we sit or the way we bow, we talk about it in a kind of somber way. But here we're offered this character, this funny character, and I mean, you could picture him however, I picture him skipping, right? And he's shouting this for anybody. He doesn't know if anybody's listening to him. This is his one thing. And he's going to go everywhere and he's going to share it. He's going to hit that bell. And then hit that bell. And then hit that bell. This is alive. Right? This matters. And then he's going to go to the next town and he's going to let them know the same thing. He's spreading the good news. Maybe not in a way that anyone will get. But for him, he's saying the thing that needs to be said. Hit that bell. Hit that bell. Don't be still. Don't retreat inside your mind. If you sit still too long, you start to grasp ideas. you start to grasp stories. Notions like emptiness that are supposed to drive us deeper, they just become anchors to keep us where we are. Unless we meet them with this kind of voracious appetite of practice. Right? It's like approaching a Christmas tree that's full of presents underneath. It's a kid, you know, and just tearing apart each one. You don't just leave it. You find out what's in this one, and then you find out what's in this one, and you find out what's in this one. The delight of that and the discipline of that, the dedication in that, that's what Puhua is asking. And that's where I'll stop.